Well, dearest Counter-Strike stands, it happened. CSGO's 11th operation, Riptide, is upon us. And I don't care that nades are droppable. I don't care about the deagle nerf. I don't care about the fact that the silencer is about to strike back. And I don't care about the Dust 2 changes. I don't care about shorter matches. I don't care about private queues, the Gamma Glocks, or the Riot Shield they threw into hostage maps. I don't care about any of it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, after years of waiting, we have finally been blessed with a butterfly lore. Let's f***ing go. Alright, before we start unboxing stuff, I gotta ask that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because I have already spent way too much money trying to pull a BFK lore, and would really appreciate your help in trying to recoup some of it. Okay, so yesterday, as heralded all day on our Twitter timelines, Valve did in fact drop CSGO's newest operation, Riptide. It's nautical themed, there's like sharks and water and Scuba Steve, and 2 trailers, which was really funny, because for some reason it really threw Simple for a loop.
How can it's new? It's new trailer, guys. It's oh my f***ing god, dude. Oh, Jesus.
Suffice it to say, there is a ton to talk about, since this could very well be the biggest, or at the very least, the most significant update that the game has seen since, like, 2016. Maybe ever. Let's start with the easy stuff. Shorter matches. MR12? MR12 who? Why not MR10? Is it 10? That's how that works? Valve said 16? That's per game, not half. Whatever. First to 9. First to 9. That's right, Valorante enthusiasts. CSGO now provides you with the option to queue shortened MM matches in which your competitive skill group is still at stake. I'm sure they'll be rough, since the CT economy isn't really built for games that short, but hey, it's MM. Who cares? Also, good news, you can finally run a 10-man without having to use an external server. Valve have implemented what they're calling a private queue, which will allow a group of players to use codes and Steam groups and such to run a private match on the game's official servers. There's also 2 new deathmatch modes, free-for-all and team versus team, which will now sit alongside the already existing classic mode that people only queue when they have operation challenges to do. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Gameplay changes. For starters, Valve finally found a way to nerf the f***ing deagle. Body shots now inflict less damage, which means that you need to be really up close to 2-shot people in the chest. Not close enough, if you ask me, but definitely close enough that it'll make a difference. Speaking of body shots, ladies and gentlemen, the era of the silencer is once again upon us. From this day onwards, the M4A1S will now inflict more damage to the body, meaning that while it still takes 2 headshots to kill, it only takes 4 body shots from any range to take down an enemy. In combination with last year's price reduction, this actually means that the A1S is very viable. I still wish that Valve would make it so that the CTs could have access to both M4s from the buy menu, but hey, it's a start. They also reduced the price of the dualies to $300, which, let's be honest, doesn't mean shit. My boy Harry put it best. The dualies are, quite simply, trash. At any price. Unless you're keto, play for nib, or wear actual driving gloves outside of the server like Vinny does. Anyone else? Just buy a P250, please. Next, we've got a handful of map changes. Some more significant than others. Leaving aside the expected, yet much needed alterations to Ancient's A site, Valve made one single change to Inferno, where they swapped out the gate behind Sandbag for a solid white door that makes seeing the ratting piece of shit CT who's sitting there much easier. Not that anything shy of an entire overhaul would save Inferno from being the worst map in the active duty pool. Yes, it's worse than Vertigo, don't at me. But could we at least have just done something, anything to maybe spruce it up a bit? Open up T-Ram? Anything? Now, my disdain for Inferno aside, the thing that everyone is talking about is the slight visibility tweak from T-Ramp through mid that Valve made on Dust 2. Why? Because they made it so that you can't see mid doors from T-Ramp.
How am I going to wallbang?
Now, let's be honest. This change was a long, long time coming. Finally, the Ts cannot subject the CTs to auto-sniper spam. More importantly, the CTs don't have to burn a smoke every time they want to leave their spawn. I will say though, as is, this change might actually be too strong. Not only will Ts have to drop and boost an AWP or Suicide to spot mid doors, but the box in Suicide is no longer viable. What's more, the Ts can't spot a lower tons rush through dark unless Valve opts to open up the ramp angle a little bit, which some people have already illustrated. It's obviously way too early to tell whether it'll need a tweak, and if so, what that tweak is, but whatever the case, this is a great change that will categorically alter the way that Dust 2 is played. It's awesome. And last, but certainly not least, what might just be the single greatest gameplay change that CSGO has ever seen. Droppable nades. Yes, you heard me. Droppable utility. For the first time ever, players can now drop nades as if they were weapons. Now, the limits have not changed, mind you, so it's not as if one player can suddenly holster 4 flashes or 4 mollies. But teammates can pool them on the ground and watch as one person smokes 3 places. Of all the changes implemented in this operation, this is the only one that has kind of divided the community. Everything else has pretty much been unanimously agreed to be great for the growth of the game. This is the only one that is kind of polemical.
Grenades can now be dropped just like weapons. It's actually very funny because what's the point? If you don't know smoke, you just give it to your teammate, right? Or you just leave him 10 flashes around him in B apartments on Mirage. Then you do 1 smoke window kitchen from B and 2nd smoke from T spawn on B, and he just take all these 10 flashes and throw it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until the 10. Jesus, man.
Some think it's super broken and could potentially overhaul the strategic sophistication of CSGO for the worse, since it makes info gathering exponentially more difficult. Others think that we should reserve judgment until we've had a chance to see it in action. Maybe it's because I'm a Dota player and have been watching IceFrog f my shit up for the better part of a decade, but I don't find myself reacting all that negatively to this change. Sure, you could drop all 10 flashes in B apps, like Simple suggested, and have one guy just lob all of them onto site. But then no one else on the map would have any flashes. This just allows teams to make more sophisticated trade-offs, which in my completely non-professional opinion, could be very cool. Needless to say, this is a very, very big change that I am in no way comfortable making an actual pronouncement upon. The only thing I will say is that being able to fake throw a flash the way you'd previously fake throw a Glock, to bait an op shot, that could be really broken.
Yo, I could keep flashing stuff.
Go, go, go.
He turned it!
Now, I don't know how Valve fixed that. Maybe change the physics so that utility falls flatly to the ground, or implement some kind of glow around it for when it's being dropped instead of properly thrown. And maybe I'm overreacting, I do genuinely think this could be kind of an issue. Turning away from a flying pistol is one thing. If you get fooled by that, that's on you. But turning away from an actual floating flashbang that can just be lobbed around corners ad infinitum, that's not about game sense. That's just like, what can I do? I have to turn away from it, right? Oh, and if that wasn't crazy enough, they added a riot shield to casual hostage maps. It's great. I love it. A real throwback to the old days. All right, now that we're done with all that gameplay talk, it's time for the real shit. Skins. I'm not gonna go over all the star challenge mission stuff since it's all pretty routine. Skins are awarded through roles, which are activated by way of stars, which you can either buy or earn through weekly challenges and then redeem. Similar to last year and the year before, Valve opted not to recycle any previously released Operation cosmetics, instead choosing to release 4 new map-themed collections: the Mirage 2021, the Train 2021, the Vertigo 2021, and the Dust 2 2021. So what are the highlights? For starters, we've got this year's resident super sick op, the Desert Hydra, which Twists unboxed like 5 minutes after he woke up, apparently, because I guess he's just better. Then there's the Dictator-esque AK known as the Gold Aberresque, which, though definitely very gaudy, is also very clean. You've also got a Fade UMP and a case-hardened MAC-10 for good measure. Last but not least, we've got Gamma Doppler Glocks. Jiminy Christmas are these things clean. And yes, they come in all 4 phases as well as Emerald, which Twists also unboxed because apparently he's just a f***ing god. Check him PC and game, because that is not normally. Now, it's worth pointing out that as of right now, the offerings in the Train collection can actually be bought tier to tier, whereas the others are rolled in the traditional way. Now, it isn't clear right now whether the collections will rotate, but if they do, it'll pretty much cap the prices at like $40 to $50. Suffice it to say, this is actually incredibly important when it comes to determining just how valuable these Operation skins will end up being. Now, I don't think Valve intends on rotating them, since that would essentially tank their value from the get-go. But who knows? The Train collection is also the only one that represents a non-active duty map, meaning no souvenir potential come the major, and is the only one with 2 coverts, meaning that you still have to roll for a Gamma Doppler Glock, never mind an Emerald, so it makes sense to keep it as the only one that can be bought tier to tier. Speaking of Emeralds, let us talk about the real reason that we are all gathered here today on this holiest of occasions: the knives. Riptide case is cool, Deagle is nice, AK is pretty sweet, yada yada. Who cares? What matters is that after eons of waiting, Valve have finally blessed us with an additional set of blades in the Gamma Doppler finishes, which, aside from the titular, include Brightwater, Autotronic, Freehand, Black Laminate, and what is, in my opinion, the all-time GOAT: lore. I personally own 2 lores, an M9 and a Karambit, and like many others, have been waiting to round out my collection with a Butterfly variant for as long as I can remember. The only reason I own a Phase 3 Butterfly is because, until now, the lore didn't exist. Needless to say, I'm obsessed with the finish, and would take a Butterfly lore over quite literally any other knife in CSGO, Emerald included. Which made it kind of painful to watch the lovely, talented, and altogether inimitable Mr. Chad Birchill pull the very first statty without really knowing what it was.
Oh my, no, what?
It's not the Emerald one though, but it's a stat track.
Are you kidding me? You just got a knife.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Alright. That's alright. We take that.
Anyway, look, that's about all I got for you today, since honestly they're gonna fire me if I just keep talking about skins for this long. But the consensus is clear. Operation Riptide is a fucking banger. Seriously, a true unadulterated success. And I don't just mean skin-wise. I'm talking in terms of like real, actual, measurable gameplay improvements that will bolster the health of CSGO for years to come. Props to Valve for listening, caring, and implementing such awesome changes. Thank you for all of this. Seriously, it's great. And please, for a Butterfly lure, I'll do anything. Please. I actually, I don't know if you saw this, Leaf tweeted like an hour ago, he unboxed an Emerald Glock, which is going for like $1,000, and he was like, I'm officially announcing my retirement from professional Valorant. So good.